I did that once, well, more than once. But this night, it was the feed from camera 12. We had 12 cameras in the building, all wired into this old humming console that smelled like hot dust and ozone. I worked overnight security at the Harbor Street complex, one of those massive concrete office buildings that looks asleep even during the day. To be honest, I liked the quiet, the hum of the monitors, the click of the vending machine compressor kicking in. Nobody to bother me, just me, a chair, and 12 black and white windows into stillness. Except that night, one of those windows didn't stay still. It started with a flicker in camera 12, bottom row, far right, the one that covered the underground hallway leading to the old storage wing, the part of the complex that hadn't been used in years. I leaned closer. The image was grainy, full of static snow, but I could swear I saw movement at the far end of the corridor, like a shape shifting in and out of focus, right where the light didn't reach. Probably glitching, I told myself. Old wiring, loose connection. Still, I found my hand hovering over the mic switch. "Maintenance," I said, my voice sounding small through the console speaker. "You picking up anything weird down in storage? You ever stare at something so long the edges start to bend?" No answer, not even static. The building swallowed my words. 15 minutes later, the thing, whatever it was closer. Definitely closer. Not walking exactly, but it had shifted position between the flickers. I could see the faint outline now, like someone wearing a heavy coat, shoulders hunched. "Yeah, okay, that's not nothing," I muttered. I tried camera 11. Same hallway, different angle. Empty. Back to 12. The figure was there. That's when I started hearing it. The soft, slow whum 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 of the building's emergency ventilation cycling on. The sound made the ceiling tiles tremble. I told myself that cameras don't see ghosts. They see light, shadows, data. So why did it feel like it was watching me back? You develop habits when you're alone on shift. One of mine was talking to myself. It kept the silence from pressing too hard. "All right," I said out loud. "If this is one of the tech guys screwing around with the feed again, congrats. You got my heart rate up." The figure didn't move. It just grew sharper, like the camera wanted me to see it better. The static around it started to pulse rhythmically, like breath. Something else caught my eye. Tiny glow in the corner of the console. A window I hadn't opened. Remote access active. I froze. No one else should have been logged in. Not from my end. Not at this hour. Then a small message blinked at the bottom of the monitor. "Keep watching camera 12. My throat went dry. "Who's sending that?" I said into the mic. Silence. When I looked back at the screen, the hallway light over camera 12 began to strobe, throwing bursts of overexposed whiteness across the figure. Between flashes, I thought I saw a face, pale, featureless, like a stretched reflection in water. Then the light steadied, and the figure was gone. "Jesus Christ," I whispered. "Okay, I'm done." I stood, tangled my headphone cord, nearly tripped on it. I was ready to shut the monitors off, every damn one, when something moved, in the bottom edge of the fade. Not the hallway this time, the control room. My control room. At first it looked like interference, grain patterns shifting. Then I realized the faint outline of a man was sitting in my chair, on the camera's point of view, as if I were already there, except I was standing, my legs locked in place. "No," I said, shaking my head. "No, no, no, no." The screen flickered again. Now the figure was standing, facing the console, facing me, through the lens of camera 12. I didn't breathe, didn't blink. Part of me thought, crazy as it sounds, if I moved, it would. Static flooded the screens. The whole console buzzed, lights dimming to a deep electric pulse. I grabbed my flashlight and ran into the hole, hot slamming against the ribs. Every fluorescent panel I passed hummed louder, flickering like I was moving through a faulty reel of film. When I turned into the storage corridor, the one covered by camera 12, the air was colder. My flashlight beam caught old office furniture, draped in sheets, dust motes like ash in the cone of light. The end of the corridor was pure darkness, but from that darkness came a faint sound, like whispering through a long metal pipe. Then another sound, my own radio crackling. Camera 12, the voice wasn't mine. Do you see it yet? I backed up fast, tripped over something, a cable spool. The flashlight rolled away, spinning across the floor. The beam caught the wall. There, halfway down, hung an old security camera that hadn't worked in years, except the tiny red light on it was glowing. It was aimed right at me, and inside its glass dome reflection, I saw movement, a human shape standing inches behind me. I bolted. The console room was pitch black when I got back. Only camera 12 still glowed, the image shaky but steady enough to show one thing. The hallway, my dropped flashlight lying there on its side. The figure stood over it, staring straight into the lens. That's when I noticed something that nearly broke me. On the desk next to the console sat a framed badge from earlier in my shift, my ID photo, but the badge was trembling, like something was holding it from underneath the desk. Later, the police said the footage looked corrupted, half static, half something. They never found me on any camera after 12:38 a.m. Said maybe I left, maybe I didn't, but sometimes, nights when the building's quiet enough, they say camera 12 still flickers to life on its own. Shows a guy sitting at the console, eyes locked on the monitor. Same uniform, same badge. Only thing missing is the sound. They say if you watch long enough, you can almost see his lips move, mouthing one sentence over and over. Keep watching camera 12. I honestly wasn't looking for another job. I'd already hit the kind of burnt out exhaustion where even microwaving dinner felt like clocking in. Then my phone buzzed one Sunday morning, the screen showing Springvale Distribution Center. That place again. I'd worked a seasonal shift there 3 years earlier, 4 straight weeks of 3 a.m. Inventory counting and coffee that tasted like dissolved drywall. I never gave notice when I left, just didn't show up one day. The voice on the line was warm but oddly tinny, like filtered through an old transistor radio. Elliot Ryder? We have you on the list for a replacement shift tonight, midnight start. Replacement for who? I asked. A pause, then, for yourself, Mr. Ryder. Click, end of call. I told myself it was a mix-up. Maybe they recycled old employee numbers. Maybe the warehouse system spit out ghosts of workers past. Still, I drove out there. Curiosity is a disease that never clocks out. The parking lot was almost empty. Sodium lights buzzed in halos of orange fog. My breath plumed white in the chill. Through the loading bay window, a thin man stood at the time clock, scanning IDs with mechanical rhythm. Back already? He said, glancing up. I honestly wasn't looking for another job. He wore the same gray uniform I remembered, the stiff collar, the reflective stroke down each arm. It still looked starched, spotless. Mine, folded in the passenger seat beside me, looked smaller than I remembered. You'll need your badge, he said. Locker 19, same as before. My name was taped on the locker door. New paper, fresh ink. Inside my old uniform. Clean, pressed. A faint lavender smell clung to it, like the detergent my mother used. I swear the name tag gleamed brighter when I touched it. The warehouse hummed a low, endless tune. Conveyor belts slithered under the lights, boxes sliding past with tidy, hypnotic precision. Your section's over there, the thin man said. We're just catching up on back orders. Back orders, forever back orders. I slipped into the uniform. The fabric folded around me perfectly, every seam aligning on instinct. For a second, I had the disturbing impression it wasn't resting on me, it was containing me. 2 aisles down, someone moved with identical posture and cadence. head slightly down, clipboard in hand, scanning barcodes. "Hey," I called, my voice echoed too loudly. "You on replacement too?" The other worker didn't turn. Hours passed, at least that's what I thought. No clock on the wall, no outside light through the windows. Just the click-scan bit pattern of fluorescent eternity. The thin man drifted by each aisle, whispering table numbers under his breath. 17 processed, 18 delayed. Whenever he passed me, he nodded with tranquil familiarity. "Good to have you back, Elliot. My shift ends at..." He smiled. "When the replacement arrives." I looked back down the row and froze. The worker who hadn't answered earlier now faced me across the conveyor. Same build, same face, same eyes, bloodshot from caffeine and sleeplessness. He wore my old badge, the one I lost years ago in this very place. I stumbled to the break area, chest tight. The vending machine light buzzed in sickly green, styrofoam cups in a neat pyramid. The coffee dripped on the loop, though no one had touched the machine in years. The other Elliot came in quietly, holding a clipboard. His movements were smoother, as if he already knew the end point of every gesture. "Why are you here?" I demanded. "Replacement shift," he said. "You didn't finish your hours." "That's insane. I quit." My voice cracked. He smiled just enough to reveal recognition or pity. "Nobody quits, Elliot. Someone just fills in the parts you leave empty." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a time card. "Mine, time stamped tonight, 12 a.m. "I've been signing you in," he said. A sharp chill radiated from the fluorescent tubes. The air buzzed, my fingertips tingled. "You're not me," I whispered. "You're just somebody in my clothes." He tilted his head. "No, you were somebody in mine." The fire alarm went off suddenly, one long metallic howl. Boxes toppled, papers spun in the air. I ran, but every aisle looked the same. Codes 42, 43, 44 looping endlessly down identical shelves. The other workers turned their heads in unison as I passed. Each of them wore my face at a different age, younger, older, thinner, heavier. They didn't shout, they didn't chase me. They just looked, as if watching a memory replay itself one more time before filing it away. Finally, I reached the loading dock and burst through the exit door into darkness. The parking lot should have been there. Instead, I stood at the end of another aisle, the same humming belt spinning lazily beside me. The thin man waited with the sign-in tablet. "Lost your way?" My lungs shrieked for air. "I want out." He nodded. "We all do for a while, but the system keeps running." When he handed me the tablet, the name on the digital display wasn't Elliot Ryder. It was position-filled. He pressed my finger gently to the screen for the signature scan. A warmth, almost comforting, spread up my arm. And then the dizziness came, swirling like deja vu soaked in cough syrup. Sunlight knifed through the blinds. I was home, somehow. On the nightstand lay my old uniform, perfectly folded, the fabric clean pressed, waiting. The phone buzzed. The same caller ID, Springvale Distribution Center. I let it ring twice, 3 times, then, against every screaming instinct, I answered. "Elliot Ryder," said the thin man. "We have you scheduled for one more replacement shift." My throat tightened. "You said that already." "Yes," he said softly, "but now you're the one being replaced." The line clicked. I looked down at the uniform. The reflective stripes caught the morning light, shimmering faintly like breathing skin. Somewhere in the distance, just for a moment, I heard the low hum of conveyor belts starting up again, and then I felt the faintest tug at my wrist, as if something invisible was tightening a sleeve. I used to think the worst part of working security was the silence, but I was wrong. The worst part is realizing the silence might be listening back. Night security isn't glamorous, but it's steady. You learn the rhythm, check doors, check cameras, fill out the logbook, stretch your legs every half hour to keep the numbness off. And always tune into the nightly call-in. Every guard in the city knew it. Came on just before midnight, 105.3 FM, the Watchman's Hour. Supposedly started back in the 70s when CB radios were all the rage. It was part radio show, part lifeline. Lonely voices calling from warehouses, hospitals, empty subway stations. All of us connecting in the dark. Call in, keep each other awake, the host would say. His name was Reggie. Smooth voice, smoked a pack a night, everyone recognized him. It was like communion for the sleepless. At 11:57, I'd pour another cup of burned coffee, flick on the old radio perched by the monitors, and listen to that low hum of static before the jingle hit. That night started like any other. Rain tapping on the high windows of the empty office complex I guarded. The kind of cold, slow rain that makes the world feel paused. The radio crackled and Reggie's voice rolled out, warm, steady. Midnight again, my watchman, you're not alone out there. I leaned back, smiling faintly. That line always got me. He chatted for a bit, invited callers. There was Mike, the guy who worked the pier, Darlene from the hospital, a teenager who sounded new. They talked about nothing and everything, guard gossip, weird sounds, vending machines eating their dollars. You could almost forget every window around you was black glass reflecting your own tired shape. Then someone new came on. A man's voice, quiet, almost swallowed by static. Reggie, this is Carl. Downtown storage facility, you can hear me? Reggie laughed, that easy kind of laugh. You're coming through just fine, Carl. How's the shift treating you? Carl didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice had a wet, metallic tremor. I keep seeing movement on my cameras, but when I check, there's nothing. I just wanted to say it somewhere. Reggie hummed sympathetically. Old monitors pick up interference sometimes, happens. Yeah, Carl said. Except one of them looked like me. That's when I put my coffee down. Reggie went quiet for a second, then forced a chuckle. Working alone plays tricks on your mind, buddy. Sure, Carl said softly. Then the radio filled with static so thick it sounded like breathing. Reggie signed off soon after. Some technical issue, he said. Promised to be back tomorrow night. I shrugged it off. We'd all heard weird calls over the years. People get lonely, start telling stories. That's the thing about isolation. It blooms hallucinations like mold. The next night the rain had stopped, but the air still tasted metallic. At midnight, Reggie came on as usual, but his voice had dragged like the tape was sticking. Good evening, watchman. Darlene called in again. So did a few others. Business as usual. Then I heard the same static pulse. This is Carl, the voice muttered. It's still on the camera. Someone laughed nervously. You again, man? Carl didn't answer right away. You could hear breathing too close to the mic. It's getting closer. Looks like me, but it's smiling. I don't smile. The line went dead. I thought maybe it was a prank. Reggie said something like, we've all seen strange things at night. Keep those flashlights handy. But his voice faltered on the last word like he saw something too. At 1:15, while making rounds, I caught my reflection in the monitor glass and froze. For a half second, it looked like my reflection's mouth moved, while mine stayed still. I stepped closer. It was gone. Now a rational brain tries to mop up fear with logic, bad lighting, fatigue, artifacts, but fear's got a longer reach. It lingers under the ribs like static. Back at my desk, I cranked the radio dial down, but the static still buzzed faintly, like the signal didn't want to let go. I told myself, you're tired, go home in the morning, forget it. The next few nights there was no show, only static. Then a new voice came on. Young, nervous. This is Alan, security at Metro Bank. I haven't heard Reggie in a week. Anyone else still listening? I answered before I could stop myself. Yeah, I'm here, office complex on 5th. Others joined in. 6 or 7 of us filling that lonely space with breathing, small talk. Then another voice slid in, as though crawling through the frequency. Lower than all of ours. Wet, thick. they're still here. Every radio on that channel went silent except mine. Carl, I whispered. No, it said, but I can see you on the monitors. I turned to the screens. Camera 1, empty lobby. Camera 2, hall, flickering fluorescence. Camera 3, me at my desk, eyes wide, staring at the monitors. Except the timestamp was yesterday's, and on the grainy feed I started to smile. Not a twitch, not tired amusement, but a wide, deliberate grin. Then the me on screen stood up, walked toward the camera, close enough to fill the frame. Static chewed the image. My real hands shook as I mashed the power button, but every screen stayed on. The smiling image leaned closer, pixel eyes bright as frost. You still watching? It whispered. Then blackout, complete silence. I came to with the morning guard shaking my shoulder. Power surge, she said. The monitors had shut off around 2:03 a.m. Logs showed no anomaly, no recording. I tried to tell her something. Carl, the show, the thing on the screen. But my voice splintered halfway. Back home, curiosity, or maybe some sick pull, made me check 105.3 online. The Watchman's Hour hadn't been broadcast in over 20 years. Reggie died in 2002. Car accident after falling asleep at the wheel on his way home from a shift. I unplugged my radio that afternoon. It still works though. Sometimes if I forget to disconnect the power strip, the static hums to life right around midnight, faint as breath behind a door, and I swear buried in that low hiss I can hear him. Good evening, Watchman.